this Wade guy he was mentioning, he wrote things in there was a special portrait where he wrote stuff. For 20 years, he said, he praised him, he called him the best friend. I mean, doesn't sound like somebody that was molested. He really actually went under oath and swore on the Bible that nothing happened.
Well, I don't know. I just, like I say, I just can't believe sometimes the way people act and certain things that they do. And the thing is, Martin Luther King had a statement. He says, truth crushed to earth will one day rise again. And, all of the stuff that they put through Michael Jackson when he lived on earth, they didn't appreciate him. I firmly believe that they took years off of that man's life. I saw him sit up and just being miserable, couldn't sleep, he couldn't eat, he couldn't think about what he was supposed to be thinking about, which is blessing the world and taking care of his family and his children. And they took that from him. Those people don't understand when they come up with these false allegations and crazy things, what they're actually doing, not only to him, but the people that he's responsible for. And it ultimately will come out. Thank God there's fans all over the world that know the man's heart. There's people right now that are putting out amazing websites. Deborah Kunis, she's putting out an amazing website. There's Jolanda in the Netherlands that's putting out some very positive information about it, and it's just permeating the world. And Michael Jackson's going to be more famous even now,
Absolutely.
MJUpbeat.com definitely does that. JNDNewYork.com. There's so many good fan supporters, Kerry.
Absolutely, and they're all over the world. And they're very good at what they do. They're basing it on facts, and they're disproving this stuff over social media, which is an awesome tool,
Right. Good will always prevail.
Kerry, what about the thing they did, the hologram for MJ back a few months back? What was your thoughts on the whole idea?
Whatever the show it was a show, and my wife is such a big fan. She loved it. And I saw I didn't really see it at length. I saw a little piece of it, but I saw the reaction of the fans in the audience, and they seemed to be thoroughly enjoying it. However, what I would do is I would leave it up to Paris, Prince, and Blanket and the family. And if they signed off on it, then who am I to say, the things that they can do with technology? I understand that the Super Bowl, he's going to be the performer on the Super Bowl, and I guess somebody from the estate would have had to have approved that, so.
You got to pay now, they're saying, to run your band for the halftime thing. They're charging artists now. So if you're right, then the estate would have to flip the bill for that.
Oh, wow. I don't know. I don't know how that turns out. I just wouldn't want anything to affect the grieving process of the children. And if it does them good, then I say by all means do it. But if not, then I would say you stay away from it.
Absolutely. Everything needs to be signed off by just like what Terry said about it has to be signed off by the estate or the family.
Yes, I totally agree with you, Mike and Kerry, on that point. Kerry, I want to go to you on this. The Escape album, it was at #1 in the beginning. It's doing well. He's gone. He's not here to say, you know what? I didn't want this to come out. Is it a good thing, bad thing? What's your take on new Michael Jackson material coming out?
Well, I don't know the process, obviously it's his voice. I don't think anybody could mimic him that well. And I am such a fan, man. I love to hear his stuff come out, and I think it's awesome. Like I said, if it doesn't impact the kids, and that is their father, and they have to continue to live, and if it's generating income for them as well, I think that it should be a green light to do it. The fans want to hear his music, I would assume. I know I'm a fan, and I haven't heard the whole album, but the couple of songs that I heard, those are awesome songs, man. And
I love it. I don't. Good is really. the commercial that Mike was talking about before. Love Never Felt So Good is an awesome song.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's like why should something sit up in some kind of archive and just wither away? And then not only that, it gets back to the people that tried to destroy Michael Jackson. It ain't gonna happen. He's gonna be more famous now than he is, and I hope the music continues if the family signs off on it. And when I say that, I'm talking specifically, Paris, Prince, and Blanket. Those are some very intelligent kids. I would sit up and see Prince read books like you would not believe. That kid is brilliant. And like I said, I'm sure he knows finances because I know Michael taught those kids everything. He was an awesome dad. I saw that.
That's right.
And if those children sign off on it, they're at an age now where they know business, and I know Prince does. Paris and Blanket might be still a little young, but those kids are brilliant, and if they sign off on it, and it doesn't impact the grieving process, and it enables them to prolong their dad's legacy, then by all means, what Satan tried to do and destroy him with these idiots of this world, the Diane Diamonds and some of these other people, it didn't happen.
Right.
And it's not going to happen.
Nancy Grace, Stacey Brown, Nancy Grace, Diane Diamond, and Maureen Orff. There's a whole list of them. It was awful. Some of the things that MJ had to go through. It's amazing.
It really was. People don't know what they put that man through. It's so sad to see a man broken that was so powerful and enamored by the world. But if you could see him in the private moments and how, dejected he was at times. And it was only by the grace of God that he survived through that whole period. I believe God put certain people in his life at the time to, get him through that. And I think that I was instrumental in that. It wasn't just the physical. I'm not a big guy like Mike. I'm a little guy, and but the power of God, man. I tell you, I had to hire swords protecting us because I wasn't worried about a thing. And I vowed to him. I told him, and the day I went up to his room and told him that they've got the verdict. That was the most challenging day of my life. It's like, God, you got to help me because Michael was like not having it, and the emotion and the kids running and screaming. It's like, oh my God! But we dealt with it, and thank God, we prevailed. I told him, I said, man, you trust God. Don't trust nobody else. Trust God. You're gonna be back in your ranch within 2 hours. I guarantee it. And I was just speaking what I believe that God told me, and it worked out. Thank God, man. And he went on and did great things after that.
Were you in the van when it was verdict day?
Oh yeah, he didn't go anywhere without me during that period. Yeah, I was right there with him, and that was a whole other story. I won't go into that. That's gonna be that's some things I'll take to my grave. Some of the moments that to and from the court, and it was just something. On a brighter note, there were some of the people that never got credit, because there was a lot of people, like Madonna alluded to in that statement she read. A lot of people abandoned him, man, but there was a couple of people that, I heard him have some conversations with Celine Dion, Whitney Houston, Damon Wayans, Steve Harvey. Those guys really pumped him up, and I didn't know those are not the biggest celebrities in the world, especially as it relates to Steve Harvey and Damon Wayans, but man, those guys really pumped him up a couple of times on the way to court when he was down. And I mean, he was physically, that stuff will impact your body so much, your physical body will break down. Michael was really sick. And he knew that Judge Melville's position was, if you're that sick, then you're going to go to the infirmary, and we'll remand your bail, and you'll stay in custody until the trial is over. Well, it's like, how can you tell a guy not to get sick? And see, that's the side that, I'm going to talk about later on, that it was just horrible the way they did this man. It's publicly, they just wanted to humiliate him. And, we're pulling off at the off-ramp, and he's physically sick. You know, but we got to continue as opposed to going right to the hospital. We got to go to court because the guy is saying, no, you're not going to, if you're sick, then we're going to, you know, take your bail and we're going to remand you into custody for the remainder of the trial. Well, we were a month into it then, you know, and it was just terrible. It really was. But like I said, he prevailed. Thank God. That God is merciful, you know.
Well, that must have been some, writing that hand that day probably was scary. If you're Michael Jackson and you have your life in the hands of 12 jurors that might not, see the truth for what it is.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be in that position. I really wouldn't. I know, I can imagine. I heard a documentary the other day how he said he couldn't get sleep. He would wake up in just horrific nightmares just thinking about being convicted, going to jail. And
I think anybody would. So it's a really tough spot to be in. But
it is.
And you, Kerry, also were there as Michael was a father. Give me your take on Michael Jackson, the father.
Oh, I echo the same thing that Mike said. I mean, he hit the nail right on the head. He was an amazing dad. You know, you talk about a parent. He was the ultimate single parent. He was a disciplinarian, and it was interesting just to see Michael discipline the kids. But they were disciplined, man. Nothing other than what discipline should be. But they would have time out. He would chastise them. Blanket was notorious for getting, his little chastisement, but they were awesome. But as far as education, I have seen those kids, especially Prince. I have seen Prince sit up and read a book. I saw him sit on a staircase and just read a book for hours, and he was like, "This is no big deal,"
Like a little man.
It was amazing. He's an amazing dad. He loved those kids. He had fun with them. It's interesting. I saw him. He was into their physical fitness as well. I saw Prince in Paris on a treadmill one morning. We're working out in Bahrain. I got up early one morning. I usually got up early and tried to get up early so they would have the place to themselves so much. And they were up early on treadmills, all three of them. It's like, wow. But he was an amazing dad. He really was. That's all I can say about it.
And I just want to add in also, just from working with other celebrities and stuff, and Mr. Jackson definitely was doing and being a lot more involved with his children than some of the people in which I've seen in Hollywood and whatnot. And that really speaks volumes about him. And he didn't want them to grow up to be spoiled. He didn't want them to be, he wanted to be polite. He wanted them to show manners. He was really big on really molding these children to be great kids.
And Kerry, that's what he was basically, right? A good father.
I tell you, Michael is a model. He was a model dad from what I saw. I tell you, he was my dad. I look up to my dad, and I raised my children like, I saw my dad, but I also raised my kids like Michael raised his. Michael was an awesome dad. He really was. You got the biggest guy star in the world. Like I said, I've worked for other entertainers that were not as big as Michael, but they were well known, and they treated their kids like crap. I could tell you some stories where I won't go into them, but it is ugly. I mean, the nannies basically raised the kids. I don't even know why these people had kids, the way they were treating these kids, because the nannies would virtually raise these kids. The kids were like a showpiece for the celebrity when, they wanted to go out and do the, red carpet or whatever with them, but as far as actually raising the kid and providing a balanced, wholesome life for him, Michael was exemplary with that. He really was.